How is everyone doing? How is everyone doing? So, I wanted to talk about the Father's Day, which happened last Sunday. Father's Day, which is celebrated annually everywhere in the world on the same day, I suppose. And and just some of the things that had tend to happen when it's Father's Day as opposed to when it's Mother's Day. And a lot of these things for me, they grieve me so much. They grieve my heart so much. And it has to do with regards to how men, excuse me, how men are treated in our community. This is in the West, whether it's in the United States or Canada or Europe or even in South Africa, because I actually consider South Africa as being part of the West because of the cultural habits of South Africa. So, men are disrespected, they are mistreated, they are always being insulted and speaking down to. It is just, it is unbearable to the point that a lot of men have given up on relationships, have given up on marriage, fatherhood, and all of those things because there is nothing that they do that they consider that it will ever be enough. Every year when it's Mother's Day, mothers get celebrated. They get affirmed and exhorted and praised for the job that they are doing. And every year when it's Father's Day, we men get insulted and spoken down to. They get told about how they are not doing a good job, how they are responsible for all the problems in the world. It is just non-ending. And the worst culprits when it comes to this thing are the churches that we go to. And I often do this thing every Father's Day, and then I go check the messages that the churches had, the churches that I know that I was part of in South Africa, in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and check the messages. And a lot of these messages are just so negative towards men. And men are just tired of it. They are tired of it in that they get to be blamed for all these sins and transgressions that other men have committed that they are not responsible for, but women don't even get to be held accountable for the things that they themselves have done. So you have a situation where one group of people gets to be held accountable for things that they have not done, while the other group doesn't get held accountable for anything. And for me, it's not just the fact that men get dragged and besmirched so much. It's also the issue, there is the lack of proportionality in the way that men get treated compared to how women get treated on these days. And I think for me, my views also about relationships in particular has been evolving over the years, and and I've come to a point where I'm thinking that it's actually unlikely that I'll get married because it seems to me that being married to a woman in 2025, well, or in this day and age, obviously I'm not going to get married this year, is a thankless job. That there is nothing that you can ever do as a man that you would receive credit for. No effort is enough. No amount of work and effort or sacrifice for your family will ever be considered to be enough. I actually remember growing up, as a child that I noticed that I was raised in a family that my parents were married. And my parents were married for 26 years. And my mom passed away in 2012. And throughout my childhood, and I was very close to my mom, by the way, and I was not close to my dad. Me and my dad had a lot of issues, actually. So, so I'm more likely to have maybe taken the side of my mom whenever there were issues. But then I realized with hindsight that my dad was always praising my mom. He was always praising her publicly, privately. Like, he was just always praising her. He was always thanking her for everything that she did. He was always like glowing in his praise for her, affirming her publicly and privately. In contrast, my mom was always complaining, always constantly complaining about what my dad was not doing or what my dad was lacking and this and that. It was just non-ending. And you can even get to a point, like as a child, where you think that, you know, that maybe my dad was not like never did anything right with regards to his marriage, and that my mom was perfect. And those two positions are obviously incorrect. There's no person who does nothing right or a person who does nothing wrong. The difference here is that you had one person who was constantly complaining, and you had one person who was, regardless of the faults and the flaws of the other person, who was constantly willing to praise and affirm the other person. And then as I'm growing older, myself as a man, I'm seeing this thing being a constant theme in our culture, that men are always being beat down, they are always being criticized, they are always being told you are not doing this right, you are not man enough, and it is just non-ending. And it has come to a point, I think, for me, where, I mean, obviously we are aware of all of the online men's communities that are dealing with all of this, the grievances that men have. I mean, we can put that aside, but that community has come out of the fact that the environment in the past 50 years, where men just have always been being besmirched, being insulted, being called name, being shamed. Like, where I was watching a TV program last year where on The View on ABC, for those of you who are not in the United States, a show called The View. They were talking about, this is a group of women talking about, do we need men in our lives? And like almost all of those women said that, no, we don't need men. Men are useless. Men are these. Men are worthless and all that stuff. There was only one woman who said, well, I need my husband. I need him for sex. And then they laughed about it when this woman is saying that the only thing that she needs her husband for is sex. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if there was a TV show in the US or the UK or wherever, where a group of men will come together and to say, no, we don't need women. Women are useless. Women are stupid. Women are this and that. And then one of those guys, just for good measure, will just say, you know what? Yeah, I need my wife. I need her 3 times a week when we have sex. Can you imagine the backlash that will come from that? And then also just recently, this was actually last year when I was listening to on the radio, and this song came onto the radio, whose lyrics was saying, "This it's a woman's world, and you are lucky to be living in it." And I think the artist of who made that song is Miley, I think. Let me just check, because it just happens that I have the internet here in front of me. It's a woman's world. Oh, it's Katy Perry. It's actually quite incredible. Here's a leading female artist who can write a song that says it's a woman's world and you are lucky to be living in it. Can you imagine what would happen to a leading male artist that wrote a song and released it that said it's a man's world and you are lucky to be living? How long do you think that man would keep his record deal with that record company? How long do you think that producer who produced that song would remain employed? It is the thing is, those are just two examples, and this negative messaging about men on our media and on our art and the things that get produced, whether it's art, music, movies, TV shows. It is persistent. It is non-ending. And men are just supposed to just like swallow this, accept this. It is non-ending, and it brings a person to a point where we don't see a point of why should you be in relations with the undergender, because you are afraid of the treatment that you're going to receive. And then it goes further for me with regards to some of my friends who are married. Like, it always seems to me that the basic premise for being married in 2025 is that men must continuously consent with being blamed for everything. And so when we're talking about the breakdown on the family, these married people who are my friends, the answer is always that men are at fault. And for a lot of them, it doesn't even seem to me that it's a conscious thing that they are doing. It's they've been so conditioned to blame men for everything that they are mindlessly doing it. And when you're calling them out for doing it, it's as if you are the one who's at fault, because you are not in agreement with blaming men for all the society's problems. And I just want to ask folks that, to what end is this? How is this going to end? How are the relationships and the future of relationships and the future of our society is going to be when society has agreed to mistreat men like this? And that men are just supposed to be insulted and to be constantly be verbally abused, to be called names in movies. It is a joke to physically assault men. Men are just expected to accept this. To what end? And for me, as a 35-year-old male who is, I'm turning 36 this year, who is unmarried and childless, it is very unlikely that I will get married. It's becoming more and more unlikely that I will get married, because I don't see I don't see how I can participate in a process that's gonna degrade me, and I'm supposed to consent in me being degraded and insulted and being the butt of the joke, and being blamed from everything. Folks, there's not a single woman that who I've dated in the past who has not defamed me. This is to say, every single one of my ex-girlfriends has, after we broke up, spread all kinds of defamatory comments about me. And this is not just like happening to me. This is the experience that almost all men have gone through. That you know that when you dated someone, a woman as a guy, and a relationship comes to an end, you know with almost 100% certainty that you will be defamed, you will be caricatured, you will be insulted, a lot of lies will be told about you, a lot of lying by omission and lying by commission, exaggerating what happened by not taking accountability of what they did, and then where basically it's that I was the one who was at fault, she was innocent, she was a blameless victim. And whom of us would want to generally be part of a relationship where you will always be blamed for if anything goes wrong in the relationship? Every single time you will always be blamed. Where it doesn't matter what the situation is, what the scenario is, but you will always be blamed for it. I want to know, who wants to be part of that? We really, really have a serious, serious problem in our society. I want to hear what your thoughts are on the comments below. Sharp.